Message from Starfleet Command, top priority.
You are listening to the TrekRanks podcast, a member of the Tricorder Transmissions Podcast Network. This is episode 158, featuring the top 5 scenes in water. Welcome, Star Trek fans. I am Jim Moorhouse. I'm the host of the TrekRanks podcast, and tonight we are wading into the deep end for our favorite TrekRanks series. Tonight, we're returning to our scenes in Trek for the 14th time with our top 5 scenes in water. And you know, this is TrekRanks, so a scene in water could mean a lot of different things, and we'll talk about some of those variables in our diagnostic cycle in a minute. But first, let's introduce you to our 2 superb panelists for this topic. 2 panelists with brine in their veins. First up, she is back for her 4th visit to TrekRanks, hailing us from the East Coast corridor in New York. She's been on a bunch of topics, DAX episodes, abstract silence. It's Arielle K. Welcome back, Arielle.
All right, thank you so much, Jim. I'm so happy to be here again.
Love it. And our second guest tonight is appropriately a little wet behind the ears. Lots of water puns tonight. And he's making his first ever TrekRanks appearance, although he has sent in a number of voicemails in the past. And he is also hailing us from the East Coast corridor in Erie, Pennsylvania. Please welcome Nathan Royster. Nathan.
Greetings from the Great Lakes up here, Jim.
Oh, that's right. Erie. Perfect. I never would have connected that. Thanks for the geography lesson. Nathan, for our first time guests, let's get a quick Trek origin story. So what's your backstory? How'd you get into Trek? It's been great kind of meeting you on Twitter and exchanging pics, but how'd you get into it? How have you seen it all? What's your status?
Yeah, just kind of growing up, there was 2 parts that I don't know in what order. There was the original 6 movies that just were sitting in the VHS cabinet and just watching those, and then the TNG reruns on the local Fox affiliate. Yep. And for some reason, I particularly remember the week where it was all Q episodes, and just really thinking that was just really cool and really getting hooked into that. And then when COVID came, I hadn't watched Trek for a while, and just the Next Generation just really struck me as just a place of comfort to go back to. And as I was watching it, there was a crossover episode with Deep Space Nine. And I was like, oh, that was always that one that had the weird commercials that was always on at a bad time, like on Friday night.
Oh yeah.
So let's give it a try. And as soon as I watched Emissary, it just hit me on just a deeply personal level. Even when season 1 had its fits and starts, just that episode just really hooked me for Deep Space Nine and Trek. So except for maybe a little bit of Enterprise, I think I've seen it all up to this point. And yeah, I think that's about it.
Wow. So your deep dive into it really started after the pandemic?
Yeah, like I just kind of, bounced around Next Generation here and there, but nothing really intensive.
Yeah, I love realizing that. It's hard to, you don't pick up on things like that when you're talking on Twitter. That is cool. Emissary. I mean, come on. That is a special episode. No doubt. Okay, awesome. That is great to hear. And all right, that's going to be a great show. Let's get into our TrekRanks recalibration.
You can recalibrate the regulators now.
Will do.
Okay, the TrekRanks charter has 2 clauses. 1, we rank Trek so we can have a fun conversation about Star Trek. And 2, the ranks don't matter. We just use them as a framework to have a deep dive conversation about all the things we love about Trek. Because as Mr. Spock himself has said, our show is all about
infinite diversity in infinite combinations, symbolizing the elements that create truth and beauty.
There are no wrong answers at TrekRanks. This show is about sharing all the things we love about Trek, and we love it all from TOS to TNG, straight through to Enterprise and the Kelvin timeline, and now Discovery, Picard, Strange New World, Short Treks, Lower Decks, and Prodigy. It's all fair game here on the TrekRanks podcast.
Black alert. Black alert.
And a reminder that this episode of TrekRanks is current through the end of Star Trek Picard Season 3. That's episode number 883, The Last Generation. And one final reminder, we use episodes as a shorthand term, but the 13 films are always in play as well. Lots of water in the 13 films.
Hailing frequencies open.
Thank you, Mr. Worf. You can hail me directly on Twitter at TrekRanks or at Enterprise Extra. You can see our extensive rankings of all the Treks at TrekRanks.com. And don't forget to also call and leave us a message with your own picks at 609-512-LLAP. That's 609-512-5527. Okay, Arielle and Nathan, let everyone know how they can get a hold of you on Subspace. Arielle.
Sure, you can find me on Twitter at Arielle K18. That's ARIELLEK18. I'm happy to talk about anything Star Trek or anything police procedural drama or a lot of biochemistry, oddly enough. Kind of a catch-all.
I love it. Nathan, how about you?
I'm at Twitter on at Nathan_Royster, ROYSTER. And honestly, Trek's probably the only reason I'm even sticking around at this point.
I think that's pretty much why we're all sticking around at this point. All right, let's run a diagnostic cycle to get into this topic.
Computer, run a level 2 diagnostic.
Okay, really quick. Everyone knows the drill by now. We love our scenes in Trek series. So we're going to go through our roll call of our previous 13 topics just because I like to rattle them off. So we have the first one was scenes in a turbo lift. Then from there, we went to shuttlecraft, Jeffrey's tube, scenes in a brig, on location, in a cave, in sickbay, on Earth, in a corridor, scenes on a cliff, top 5 fight scenes. We did scenes in engineering and scenes at a table. And tonight we're doing top 5 scenes in water. And I think this one will be a classic, just like those others. So what do we mean by a scene in water? Well, it's TrekRanks, so that is completely up to you. You could be a strict constructionist on this one and pick only actual scenes taking place in actual water, or you could include scenes that are maybe water adjacent, or maybe scenes where characters just get wet, or maybe it's not water at all, and it's some kind of alien liquid or something. I don't know. There's lots of ways to look at this one. It's going to be fantastic. So let's figure out how everyone broke it down right now in our prime directives.
Do they know about prime directive? They know everything I know, sir.
And you're about to know everything we know about our prime directives. So, Arielle, let's start with you. How did you define your prime directive and make your picks tonight?
Sure. So I'll admit right off the bat, I took some creative license with this topic. I really started out brainstorming scenes that were literally in the water. I tried, but I gave myself some wiggle room from there. So I ended up with some scenes that are about water or adjacent to water. We'll see. And at that point, I decided I wanted to pick only one scene per series or per crew.
Okay.
So I pruned it down using that. And then I just chose what I wanted to talk about the most. So vibes.
Awesome. By series is a good way to do it. Nathan, how about you for your first prime directive?
Yeah, I too started off very strict. It had to be H2O, but I decided I would at least allow one off-the-wall pick, but it had to be liquid, so no ice or snow, and it had to be the dominant or defining feature of the scene. And then, like Arielle, just went with vibes. So at first I thought maybe it should be the wettest scenes, but then I just went, no, just what are the best scenes that involve water or liquid?
Okay, so I think we're all a little similar. So mine was pretty straightforward. I had one big qualifier, which was, I started putting my list together just thinking about water in a bunch of different ways. And I had so many on my list. I said, I'm just going to come up with 5 completely different ways that water is part of the scene. And water, that's loose. It could be any kind of liquid. So I'm not holding it to actual water. So I really crossed over between the different uses of water in my 5 picks. Big bodies of water, rain, small bodies of water. Maybe it's not really water. Some big moments, a couple of deep cuts. So lots of variables. Can't wait to get into this. So let's do it, Third Romaticon. Introduce us to the order of things.
I am a Jem'Hadar. He is a Vorta. It is the order of things.
Thank you, Third Romaticon. As always, everyone will start with their 5-word summary and a hashtag to tease their pick. Then we'll each reveal our scene in water and the reasons we're highlighting it. And of course, everyone will pick an episode to associate with that pick. That should be obvious tonight. And then after getting through our 5 rounds of picks, we'll get a few secondary system selections from everyone. And remember, if we have any duplicate picks, make sure you listen for the Defiant Torpedoes. Could be some duplicates. I mean, there are some big scenes in water, so it'll be interesting to see how we all approach some of those landmark moments. So, Arielle, let's kick this off with you. What's your number 5 pick for your top 5 scene in water?
Sure. My number 5 pick, 5 words in a hashtag, most underrated Star Trek characters, hashtag Lieutenants Kimolu and Matt. So I'll come right out and say it. I'll come right out and say it. I'm obsessed with the concept of cetacean ops. I always have been. And finally seeing it for real in Lower Decks made me so happy. I'm a science person. And the concept of using the cetaceans for navigation, it's brilliant. Like, who thinks of these things? This is the kind of thing that makes me love Star Trek. Who thinks of those kind of things? Anyway, that scene in, I guess, Lower Decks Season 2, Episode 10, First Contact, is brilliant. And I had to highlight it here.
Yeah, it's brilliant. I mean, the whole Boimler diving into the unknown. I mean, this is the fact. Mike McMahon mentioned at one point we're going to see cetacean ops, but he wanted to make it, like part of the story, or just not just like a quick pop in. I mean, absolute home run the way they used it here. Just absolutely hilarious, believable, right? It is now believable in Star Trek canon that there are basically sentient beluga whales on the ship helping to navigate the Cerritos, and you can only imagine that they're on other ships as well. I love this moment. I love that this goofy, nonsensical thing is now canon and also makes perfect sense. So, Nathan, what's your take on First Contact and Boimler in Cetacean Ops with Matt and Kimolu?
Yeah, it's this goofy moment that just satisfied like the deep Trek fans of like, oh, we heard this vague mention over an intercom on this one episode of TNG and have been wanting to see it since. And it's goofy, and you've got these two these two whales that are very keen on Rutherford, but at the same time, I mean, it's part of this high stakes, like really dramatic moment, and it's just one of Trek's best moments, and what I'd say is one of its best episodes, because you just hit every emotional level of this hilarious moment that does this bit of fan service, but it doesn't break the tension. It doesn't undermine the drama of what's going on with the Cerritos trying to rescue the other ship,
the Archimedes.
Archimedes, yeah.
The owl name.
Yeah.
And so it's just like, it's everything that was great about that season of Lower Decks, being able to hit every end of the emotional spectrum. And then Tendi yelling at Mariner, "We are your family," was just the climax of that moment.
And of course it happened at Cetacean Ops.
Yeah, everything goes down in Cetacean Ops.
It's brilliant. I love this episode so much.
It's absolute perfection. Great summary, Nathan, because it's part of an all-time epic episode of Star Trek. No matter what you think of animation or the tone of Lower Decks, the shit going on in this episode is unbelievable. It is such a high level. Absolutely great. I think it's my second. I think it's number 2 on my Lower Decks Trek ranks, behind Wedge Dude, which was the episode right before this. So pretty good run there.
And another incredible episode.
Yeah, exactly. Amazing. Okay, Nathan, how about you? What's your number 1?
All right, my number 5 pick, bottle episode gets watery effects, hashtag rainy planet, and it's Deep Space Nine, The Sound of Her Voice.
Wow.
The crew finally arrives at the planet to rescue the stranded Starfleet officer. And this one really struck me. I watched it recently, that this whole episode was really a low budget, where they're just on the Defiant set, they're just talking to this voice, and it's almost like a stage play, and they didn't have to do this really top-notch scene. First, when the shuttle lands and you get a glimpse of this just really grim, just rainy planet, but even when they go into the cave, you just have this constant downpour of the water just flowing into the cave. And and I thought of a few rainy scenes in Trek, but this was one of the few where the characters are actually in the rain. Usually it's raining outside, or it's part of the background, but this is one of the few points where the characters are in it, they're getting wet, and it just really sets the scene, both emotionally as well as just the inhospitability of what that stranded officer had dealt with for so long.
Let's hear it, Chief.
And Commander
Gatsby's dead too. I didn't see any other escape pods leave before the ship was destroyed, so I may be the only survivor. My pod was torn open on impact, and the rain is pouring in. I'll take the radio and a survival kit with me, but the environmental suits were damaged in the crash, so I'll have to rough it. This is an hourglass world, and the atmosphere is barely breathable out there. Repeat, this is a general distress call.
Really set the tone for that climax of that episode.
Damn, if there was one pick on my list that I thought would not be a duplicate, it was the sound of her voice. It is my number 5 pick too. I cannot believe this because the level of production on this with the rain, because Nathan, you just took all my talking points. It's unbelievable. So for 40 minutes, this episode is just the ultimate bottle episode, right? It's just the crew, it's one voice actor, and it's the Defiant set, and that's it. And then the last 10 minutes, man, they have like this incredible shot of the Defiant leaving the shuttle bay, which is the only time we ever see it. I mean, a shuttle leaving the Defiant's shuttle bay, only time we see it. You get some unbelievable like diorama model work of the shuttle on the planet's surface. And then this planet hell scene with the rain, you just said it, Nathan. It is pouring. Like they have so much dense, heavy water in this scene. It always stood out to me. It must have been a complete nightmare for the actors because man, the production work on this episode is unbelievable. So this is my round 5 pick too. My 5 words in a hashtag, the sweet sound of rain, hashtag downpour on set. Absolutely fantastic episode. And the use of the rain here just adds to the muck and just the tone and the depressed kind of feeling of this episode and where they know they're going with Jadzia and in the Dominion War. Amazing. Awesome pick, Nathan. Arielle, what's your take on this one?
Wow, you both landed on this.
Cut.
I know. I love this episode, and honestly, I watched it last week, and it still didn't even occur to me because I think of it as a bottle episode, the best bottle episode, but right. A bottle episode that's entirely on the Defiant with that last, scene at the end. And it wouldn't have even occurred to me, but this is brilliant. And the tone that gets set or the tone that gets reinforced by the rain at the end is also, wow, this is such a good pick.
So this is my rain pick for my different type of water. And I'm going to rattle off a few more rain ones in my secondary system, but Nathan, it sounds like we're on the same page on this one for sure. Amazing. I love it. Okay. Round 4, Arielle, what's your number 4 pick?
Sure. My 5 words on a hashtag are not the hell your whales, hashtag even more whales. And this is the only one that absolutely had to be on my list. I mean, I hope I was almost not going to include it because I figured someone else would, but we all know what happened with the Data episode.
Yes.
So I said, oh, you know what? I'll include this. I can't not. So specifically,
this was my toughest cut, so I'm so glad you picked it.
Okay, I'm glad I did then. The scene with Spock swimming with the whales to meld with them, it's just so great. And I get such a great comedy kick out of watching Kirk's face in that scene. It's awesome. So this is my number 4 pick, The Void Home.
I mean, it's the waters all over the scene, not only just the ending and the joy of that moment on the side of the bird of prey, but the whole rescue with
the whole thing
Kirk. Kirk having to swim through, actually just like Boimler, he had to swim under just like Boimler. I just realized that it's the same thing.
I just picked 2 whales. I also point out the 2 whales in a row, but
incredible. And the 2 whales, oh my god. How have I never made that connection? That is unbelievable.
I'm just going with the specific, like the swimming in the aquarium scene, though. That's just my mental image.
Sorry, you're going with Spock in the aquarium.
I know.
Sorry, I just totally.
It's okay. When
you said Spock swimming at the end,
it's a very movie.
The whole movie could have been a pick for this. Absolutely. I knew I had to pick a scene, but it was really hard to settle down. I mean, who doesn't?
I swear,
love this movie?
I do listen well when people are making picks. I'm taking all these notes, so my mind leapt ahead to the end because that was the one that I had been thinking of. Oh my god! Okay, so Well, we already talked about the amazing connection between the Boimler pick, but now I need to comment on the hilarity of that scene.
That's what I'm saying. Watching Kirk's face is.
Oh my God, it was joy. It was just the best. Yeah, when you said that, I literally was picturing as you were saying all those words, I was picturing everyone on the side of the bird of prey with the same kind of happiness and expressions. And so I apologize.
It's also a great pick. It's probably the better pick and the more straightforward pick for the movie, but I had to go with the scene that just gives me the most joy.
Who knows? It may be a duplicate, it may not, but the thing here with Kirk's face, incredible, and then of course when the not the hell your whales, which is
it's so brilliant. Oh my God.
Okay, Nathan, would you like to comment on either one of these scenes in water?
Yeah, part of the reason I admittedly maybe avoided this was like, as this kind of confused conversation implied, where do you even begin in picking a water scene in this film? I mean, it could be just the downpour that's affecting the whole Earth. It could be the aquarium scene. It could be the poaching scene. It could be where they land in San Francisco Bay. But I love the scene because, I mean, one, kind of the irony of a fish out of water movie with Spock in the water with the whales. But then two, I think just also in doing that mind meld and just really just kind of affirming almost the sentience of these whales and just their experience too, and just how that really fits into the movie, and of also just Gracie being pregnant, of how this kind of creates a possibility of a future, and this being just the perfect solution to the Enterprise's problem. And then just having this, both that profound moment just surrounded by everything from Kirk's face to how they're not your whales. It's just everything great about the voyage home.
In the ocean, the other whales will pick up the song and pass it on. The songs change every year, and we still don't know what purpose they serve. Are they some kind of navigational signal? Could they be part of the mating ritual? Or is it pure communication beyond our comprehension? Frankly, we just don't know yet.
Maybe he's singing to that man.
It's a beautiful message surrounded by just the funniest scenes in Trek.
What the hell? Excuse me, wait right here.
And I'm glad you said the poaching scene, because that's where I was going before I realized my mistake. Because you have that scene with the bird of prey and the poachers, and then they beam the whales over, and then you have the rescue, and then you have the joy in the tank at the end of the movie. So much water, and great call on the probe attack too, and the water there. Oh, amazing.
The whole thing is great.
Holy crap! And that's,
you could do an episode about this movie.
I mean, it's probably my number one piece of Star Trek of all time. So, okay, let's go to Nathan's round 4 pick. What do you got?
All right, for number 4, Voyager discovers Delta Quadrant wonders. # Strange New Worlds. And I picked Voyager's 30 days when they first approached the water planet. And for me, some of Voyager's best stuff was when the writers realized that they're in another part of the galaxy and could really let their imaginations go wild. So we would get some radical ideas of what a planet could be or what life forms could be. And in this episode, you get this planet that's entirely water. It's an ocean entirely. And while we're kind of enchanted by this idea, you also get that sense of wonder, excitement on the faces of the crew, especially Tom Paris. Like, they're just excited to see this completely new kind of planet. And then it leads to these very cool engineering problems where Voyager has to discover what's wrong with the planet. And then you get the Delta Flyer refitted for submarine capabilities, and we get an underwater scene with some ocean monster. But I just wanted to particularly emphasize the first moment we see the ocean planet and that sense of awe that we share with the crew when it comes up on the view screen.
Yeah.
Awesome. This is going to be I'm glad you guys picked these episodes round, because 30 Days was also a tough cut, because I love this episode. I love the message. I love the effects, and just they did such a good job with the sci-fi concept of creating this believable water planet based on the technobabble that they put that whatever it is, that reactor that sucked up all the water off their planet so they could, for whatever reason, they don't know why. And then the planet was eventually destroyed, and that's where they ended up settling. Anyway, it's just really cool. Are they Maneans? The race is really, really, really cool. It's got Willie Garson in it, and it's an amazing episode. And this is another one where you can just pick so many different scenes. So.
And we just went from 2 episodes where you have like the whale connection, and now we have the 2 episodes that have the maritime health and the fate of the whole planet connection.
Oh yeah, back to back. Good point. Boys Home connects it all.
It seems to me like you're just trying to sidestep the issue and send us on our way.
With all due respect, who are you to tell us what to do with our ocean?
With all due respect, it's not your ocean.
Lieutenant?
It's all right, Captain. I'd like to respond. But not as a diplomat, as a Monean. You came here claiming you wanted to learn about our way of life, and now, having spent 3 days here, you're suggesting we abandon it. We have an expression, brine in the veins. Tell them what it means.
It's used to describe someone who has special connection to the waters.
Arielle, what's your take on 30 Days?
This was my absolute toughest cut, and I'm so glad somebody brought it up. I love this episode. I also love that it's such a good Tom Paris episode. I think, yeah. I don't know. I feel like you hit all the major points, but I also like the analogy of the whole episode. I think any Star Trek episode that is, not every Star Trek episode tries to address issues that we, as humanity are facing. That's the whole point of sci-fi. But this episode does it really well as well. So.
Yeah, it and it stands the test of time. It still looks good, and the message is just rock solid for.
Yeah, this is one of the most aesthetically pleasing episodes too. It's just so fun to watch.
Yeah, I just love seeing the waves.
Yeah, that's a great way to say it. It is aesthetic. It just looks cool, and it's aesthetically pleasing.
I also love the episodes that are framed in like interesting ways. So the fact that it is told through the lens of Tom Paris, like narrating that letter he's writing to his father, I think is a nice staging device for the whole thing.
Yeah, good stuff. Awesome.
And I think too, there's also one point too where Tom's talking about tall ships, and I think is a nice connection to Trek's kind of origins in the Navy, and just kind of that sense of antiquity and the roots that Starfleet has to those original tall ships that went out to the ocean, and it's just an episode that really hits the imagination and wonder really nicely.
Yeah, there's those scenes with the little kid playing with the wooden ship. Yeah, where it's a young Tom Paris, not little kid. Yeah, brilliant. I love it. Okay,
so good.
Close out round 4. Actually, this might have been my biggest deep cut. So there's no way anybody has this one. 5 words and a hashtag. Sewage escape route, no fun, hashtag that ain't water. And we talked a little bit about this in last week's episode, Xindi War Moments, and I knew I was going to pick it for this. It is from the episode The Xindi, at the beginning of season 3. It's Archer and Tucker and one Xindi escaping from the mining facility where they're being held to open that season, and they crawl through this really disgusting looking sewage pit to get to a plasma duct that they're gonna open and climb out of. And this is one of those, again, I kind of a broken record, but the production value of this whole episode and this scene is amazing. They are wading through some waist deep sewage, and it just does not look pleasant. There's this cool orange glow in the water that just gives it a unique look, and could not have been any fun for these guys to film this. Trip's got to get his face down into it while he's trying to unlock the door, and it just looks like raw sewage. It comes across like raw sewage, and it is just a big pit of it. And they get into and it's great because they climb into the duct to climb up it, and everyone's just sopping wet, and they're just dripping on each other. Just really high level of production. So, Arielle, what's your take on this sewage escape route in the Xindi?
Utterly disgusting. A really good pick. I would have never thought about it. You said water. I definitely didn't go for raw sewage, but this is really great. I recently rewatched the entire Xindi War arc, and this episode stood out to me. It was disgusting and like spooky. It was a good episode. This was a really good episode and a really great pick. And yeah, I felt for the actors while I was watching it. I just wanted to take a shower afterward.
Yeah, it was great. When I watched really closely when they like switch from one scene to the next where they're climbing up, and Scott Bakula is just completely, his lower half is completely drenched. So
he's the real MVP of that.
They didn't skip any beats on that. Nathan, have you seen this one? You know this one?
Yeah, I mean, and part of the problem of season 3 is that it was so good. I think I just tore through it, and this is a deep cut because I'm having a hard time recalling it from about a year or two ago. Because as I said, I just went from one episode to another probably a little too quickly. So, but sounds like a great pick.
I know that feeling. Yeah, it was. So just for your knowledge, it was. It's literally the very first episode where they're just trying to find this indie guy. And
this also the one where they introduced Trillium D, I think.
Yeah, it was the first kind of where they start talking about, because that's the mining facilities for Trillium D. So
I remember either a finger or a hand or something disarticulated. This is my vivid memory of this episode.
Yes,
so
they to prove that they had this indie downstairs in the mines, they cut off his finger. It was pretty good.
Nasty.
Great episode. All right, let's go to the soup round. Arielle, what's your number 3 pick?
Why don't you try the soup instead?
Sure. 5 words and a hashtag. Data's programmed in multiple techniques. Hashtag it's naked time. And I'm going for the whole concept of polywater intoxication.
Oh, man. This is good.
I'm sorry. It's not really necessarily wet, but it is water related, and it is probably the most creative I could possibly have gotten with the concept. Yeah, so I had a really hard time choosing between like TOS or TNG, naked time or naked now. So I let the funnier 5 words decide for me, and I went with naked now, of course. And I'll say this, as someone who studies chemistry, the concept of polywater molecules is one of the few things in Star Trek that like caused me to physically cringe. But suspension of disbelief is a hell of a drug, and I thought it was so fun and such a cool concept. So yeah, polywater intoxication.
What's it supposed to be?
It's okay. So the concept is something that's like a virus, but that's entirely made up of just water molecules strung together, which is totally impossible. But like they have a couple throwaway lines where they're describing how like the water is forming these polymers, and it doesn't really. It doesn't really check out, but I don't really care because it's such a funny word. Polywater. I love it.
Okay, so that's not really a thing. Got it.
No, I don't really care. I don't really. Who am I to tell the Star Trek universe what's a thing, right?
In the 24th century, it's a thing.
In the 24th century, water molecules can string together, and it makes the polywater intoxication where water makes everyone go mad.
Oh, this is a great, clever, outside the box pick, Nathan. I'm gonna have to look up while you're commenting, Nathan. I'm gonna look up if the naked now has ever been picked on TrekRanks.
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, and I love how it's something that's just it's not visible, but it just works its way through the entire episode and just like completely defines the behavior and everything that goes down.
Yeah, I'm sorry, nobody knew where I was going with this.
No, like that's what made it awesome. Still trying to figure out not only how a virus, but also how water would affect a cyborg. But you know what? It was a great scene. And
oh my god, they have a throwaway line in there about how some of Data's systems contain water, and it has that effect. I don't know. They do try to answer it, which is again
they covered their bases.
They do, and I as a person who loves science and loves Star Trek, I love all of those funny little ways they try to reconcile, the technobabble with actual science. So this is one of those things where I'm like, okay, at its baseline, it makes absolutely no sense, but they do a good job trying to make it sound like it makes sense, and it's so fun.
I love it. Okay, so a couple of comments. For the naked time rules, I love that episode. Naked now, not so much, but the data stuff is fantastic. So
I'm sorry, I picked the wrong one.
No, I'm so glad you picked this because it has been picked twice before on TrekRanks, and I hope she's listening, by the same person.
Oh my God.
Charlene Schmidt for top 5 one-off romances picked
Really?
Data and Tasha, which is a great pick.
Oh,
and then for her top 5 ships, she picked it again for Picard and Crusher because they kind of were hitting it off there a little bit in this. So, oh my God, amazing.
That's awesome. Maybe I should have picked Naked Time, but either way, or I could have picked Lower Decks. It's great.
Naked Time has been picked one time for top 5 costumes. Shower curtain EV suit. Yep.
As it should be. That's a fantastic choice.
For episodes where the ship is a character. That's a good one. Yes. Anyway, sorry. We'll keep going. It's been picked a lot. Okay. So, Nathan, what is your super round pick? Awesome pick, Arielle. That was fantastic.
I'm sorry that I went so off the deep end with it, but it was fun.
No way.
No, because this is my deep end pick too. I'm going out there for the soup round. 5 words. Wait, it is all liquid. # always has been. And this is Voyager's Course Oblivion.
Oh, brilliant.
God.
I love you for picking this.
This is so good together.
I mean, who knows if H2O is part of the silver blood compound, but it's definitely liquid. Something's got to make it liquid, and it's just I actually just finished it today because I wanted to make sure it was part of this list, and it's not only just a great use of just this idea, this sci-fi concept. So again, Voyager kind of just really exploring the idea of what life could look like and what creatures could be, but this idea that this Voyager kind of copy, even when they discover who they are, even as they're losing their molecular cohesion, just really kind of hold on to that sense of identity. Like, this is who they've known themselves to be, are these Starfleet and Maquis officers on this ship going to the Alpha Quadrant. And so along with this amazing kind of Twilight Zone twist and sci-fi concept, it's this beautiful story about identity, despair, and the search for refuge. And the particular scene that I pick is when they get to the planet they find a Y-class planet that could meet their needs and save the remaining crew, but they're stopped and attacked because there's some kind of mining treaty. And Janeway, even though, I mean, everybody's face is melting, they're clearly not the original Voyager crew, but she refuses to attack the other ships because they're Starfleet, and that's just who they're going to be. And it's just this beautiful idea of just holding on to that sense of identity and values, even when it's maybe not the entire story. And I love this episode.
Yeah, incredible. This is a brilliant pick. I mean, actually, I'm glad you picked Course Oblivion, but if you look at Demon.
Yeah, I almost picked Demon.
There's actually a pool of the silver blood that Harry falls into. So totally liquid. I love this. This is brilliant. And what can you say about that episode? It's when we finally do episodes that are too hard to watch again, I mean, everyone's going to pick Course Oblivion because it's just the most nihilistic ending of any Star Trek episode ever. It's so sad.
And I love it so much.
I know. Of course, it's incredible. So, but man, that is a serious gut punch.
And it's one of those episodes too where, like, often it's, Janeway holds on to Starfleet ideals and they manage to prevail through it all. But this is one where, I mean, the entire crew perishes as a result. And that's another really hard pill to swallow on this episode.
Yeah.
I just had a really long conversation with my really good friend about this episode. We sat there for 2 hours and just talked about the relative merits of the ending, of whether the real Voyager should have actually come to encounter the Silver Blood Voyager. Obviously they didn't, and the probe didn't work, It was just, this episode is so brilliant. And I thought about picking Demon because of that pool of silver blood. And, I almost felt like too much of a stretch for me, but I'm so glad you brought it up because there's almost no episode in Star Trek I like talking about more. I love this episode. I can't rewatch it, but it's one of my favorites anyway.
You know why I struggle to rewatch it is the makeup is so unsettling.
It's so unsettling, but so good. It's really well done.
No, it's so good. It's really hard to watch them just fade away into this. It's brutal. It's brutal across the board. Love it. Great pick.
That conference table scene is probably the worst.
Yeah. Okay, amazing. All right, so my round 3 pick is appropriate for this for this soup round and for the order of things, but it's a very standard pick. Here we go. 5 words and hashtag. Swimming Nog and O'Brien's pants. Hashtag water on location. And this is the amazing opening crash / rescue scene from Deep Space Nine's Rocks and Shoals.
Rip my pants.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So this is a brilliant location shoot, and I actually chose this way back on episode 60 for our scenes on location. So I picked a little bit of a different scene because I did kind of the rock quarry where they did the prisoner exchange in that one. But this was filmed in like a rock quarry north of Los Angeles. But these scenes at the beginning, really good. You've got Nog, they open with Nog kind of swimming up to the shore on his own. And then they kind of pan over, you get the crew on their makeshift raft kind of pushing it up the shore. You get this incredible visual effect of the Jem'Hadar fighter sinking in the ocean way in the distance. There's just so much happening. You got Dax is injured, O'Brien's ripped his pants. They're all just kind of miserable but having a laugh. It's just very real, visceral, fantastic scene to kind of set up this incredible episode with Third Automaticon and the order of things. So one of my favorites. I love it. Arielle, what's your take on Rocks and Shoals in this opening scene?
So this is actually in my top 10 DS9 episodes. I have always loved this episode. And it's oddly enough, like on the list of episodes I watch where I just want to feel good, which is not the idea of this episode in any way, but it's so familiar, and nothing is made like that opening that you're talking about where O'Brien tears his pants and they just have like a hearty laugh about it because there's nothing else to do in that moment. I think really resonates. You know, sometimes the best thing you can do is just laugh hysterically. So I actually cannot believe I didn't consider this scene because it's up there with my all-time favorites. I'm so glad you picked it.
Yeah, this one was on my short list right away. Nathan, what about you?
Yeah, 2 other things is the where Nog manages to drag himself up, and then Garrick kind of just stands over him and says, "On your feet, soldier. There's no time for slacking." And just that kind of weird, uneasy relationship between the two of them that carried over from Tarek Noir. Some almost weird mentorship almost that Garrick's trying to give him throughout the episode. Then also just a beautiful shot was the title card where you have the Jem'Hadar soldiers patrolling the shore, and just those bluffs with the waves crashing on it. It was just another fantastic shot for that episode.
Again, these guys are making 26 episodes a season, and they take the time to film this episode in this kind of way in these first 10 minutes. So good. And then with that scene with Garrick, they shoot the sun behind him, right? When he's standing over Nog, it's so good. And then they play into that Empok Nor stuff from later on too, when they're walking together. So good.
They'll think there's hope for you yet. Like comment.
Right.
So brilliant.
I won't walk. I won't let you walk behind me.
Yeah, it's one of those few moments where Nog is one of the few characters that Garrick just drops all pretense for. He talks like a soldier and does not put on the whole friendly tailor act.
Yeah,
and he's straight with Nog.
Such a great point. So good, especially in that moment. So good. Okay, amazing. Here we go. Let's go to round 2. Arielle, what's your number 2 pick?
Sure. So I'll give you a break from my weird creative picks. This is pretty literal. 5 words and a hashtag, and I am Adira Tall. Hashtag weirdest pool party ever. Yes. And I'm going with Discovery Season 3, Episode 4, Forget Me Not. So as soon as I heard the topic for this episode, I immediately knew I was going to the caves of Makala for the symbiont pools. Yeah. But it was a debate for me between this or between DS9 Equilibrium. And don't get me wrong, I love Equilibrium, but something about seeing this episode in the 32nd century, reconnecting it to the DS9 roots, but still being completely its own new story. It's brilliant, and also it looks so good. The effects they can do in Discovery that obviously weren't feasible at the time of Deep Space Nine are awesome. I really love this episode.
choosing the Trill, and one of those two episodes was definitely high on my list. I ended up, those are again two tough cuts for me, not having Equilibrium or Forget Me Not. But I did go back and rewatch both of these episodes in prep just to kind of get a feel for them. And this Forget Me Not is just such a great episode of Discovery. They do such a good job with all of that stuff that was the groundwork that was laid in Equilibrium and enhancing it. And I just love how they showcase once they're both inside the pool, and they're showcasing kind of how it all works with the memories and thoughts and the connections between the hosts. Yeah, really, really well done. So awesome. So glad somebody picked this. Nathan, what's your take on this?
Well, you need to hit the torpedoes.
Right away. Here we go.
Unlikely host recovers lost connection. # welcome to the circle.
Oh, yeah.
So good.
This was one where it was just, I've got a list as long as my arm, but this was one of two that was just on the list. End of story from minute one. Especially just not only going back to this sense of reconnection with these planets, where in season 3 of Discovery, where we're kind of reconnecting and doing this world building, but this idea of this pool where you're just being submerged, and this sense of trust that's going on so many different levels between Adira and Michael, the Trill Society, and this human who's shown up with a symbiote. Adira and Gray, Adira and the tall symbiotes, and then the Federation and Trill, and it all just kind of coming together in this pool where it's itself an act of trust, just to kind of allow yourself to be submerged and to even be able to open yourself up to the memories of these former hosts. And that's a big part of what the whole season's about too, is about the risk and vulnerability of connection and just it being worth taking that risk and reestablishing those connections, and of how it just really boils down into this one scene.
Please, speak your names.
I am Kasha Tal, Jovar Tal, Medela Tal, Kara Tal, Senna Tal, Gray Tal, and I am Adira Tal.
Our deepest apologies, Adira Tal. We were wrong.
The emotion that they get across in this episode, in this scene with these characters, is so well done. God, I love it. I mean, who would have thought we'd go back to Trill at the beginning of season 3 of Discovery? So cool.
Of all the plot threads to pick up, I mean, the Star Trek universe is so enormous that we have this 32nd century show that they could pick up on so many things, and I would have never guessed they'd land on Trill to, of all things, address what happened with the symbionts and all this. But it's great, and it's like a sequel to Equilibrium that DS9 doesn't really get as much love in the newer incarnations of Trek, which is fine. There's so much love to be spread around, but this was one of my favorites for that reason.
Yeah, incredible. Awesome. So glad you guys picked it. Okay, let's go to my round 2 pick. Oh, that's another standard one. Here we go. Everyone's going to know this one. 5 words and a hashtag. We'll worship the Enterprise now. Hashtag ship underwater. And it is the opening teaser from Star Trek Into Darkness.
Idea how ridiculous it is to hide a starship on the bottom of the ocean. We've been doing here since last night. The salt water's going to rule the sea.
Where's Spock?
Still in the volcano, sir.
This is a film that I love. I won't apologize for it. I get why a lot of folks don't, but for me, there's just a ton of great moments in this movie. I love it, and it all begins with this opening 10-minute teaser, which for me is a complete just masterpiece. It's like literally just throwing you into the middle of a TOS episode. And I remember when it came out, we got to see this like 6 months early because they aired it like the first 10 minutes of this before the Lord of the Rings, like I think maybe the second film that came out. So I went a bunch of times to watch just the first 10 minutes of this and then leave because I only saw Lord of the Rings once. So absolutely perfect 10 minutes. I love it. Just, again, straight into the TOS episode. And my favorite part of this is you get the scene where they jump off the cliff into the water. They swim through the water. You got them going through the hatch on the side of the ship. But my favorite part is when the ship rises out of the water and all the Nibirians are standing there on the cliff and they see it, and they immediately just toss their sacred scroll that they were chasing Kirk for aside, and they start drawing an Enterprise in the sand and start worshiping the ship. It's just so brilliant. This is a great take on TOS and the Prime Directive. And the last thing I'll just say, I'm just going to throw it out there. Anyone who's trying to nitpick the fact that a starship can't go underwater or deal with the extra pressure, people have been complaining about, or even like fly in the atmosphere, right? Because that's another thing I hear sometimes, which of course they did in Tomorrow Is Yesterday in 1967. I mean, come on, this has been part of the show forever. We picked Delta Flyer earlier. I mean, I love this. So don't nitpick that. It's just the most boring thing. It's the worst, dumbest nitpick out there. So, and you have the added bonus when you do nitpick that of just being wrong, because this scene is awesome. So, Arielle, what's your take on Star Trek Into Darkness in this opening moment?
I'll admit I haven't seen the whole movie in a long time, but I know exactly what you're talking about for this opening scene. It's just one of the coolest, like, visual sequences too. I love watching this, and I think you hit all the right points with talking about like how much people nitpick it. I've seen this scene complained about more than possibly any other scene in all of Star Trek. Like I see it go by cyclically on Twitter all the time. Right. It's like, I don't care enough. It's such a great scene, you know. So
ship can fold space and travel.
Right, this ship
one
can
end of the galaxy to the other, but going underwater, that's a bridge too far.
Right, you can accept warp. You can accept the transporters and warp travel and whatever. But the underwater is just too much.
It's too much. It's unbelievable. Nathan, what's your take?
Yeah, both this and the sabotage scene from Beyond are kind of good standards for can you just enjoy a fun movie?
Exactly. Exactly.
But yeah, just especially for every bit of stress test that we have put the Enterprise through, like I think we can handle a lake.
Well said.
That's
so
a fair
good.
Point.
And you also get the great moment where Scotty's sees the fish through the view screen when they're on the bridge arguing. So great. Okay, one of my favorites, Star Trek Into Darkness. Great movie. Here we go. Round one.
Begin round one.
Arielle, what's your number one scene in water?
All right. Remember how I said I was going to get a little creative?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, this is where that really, really comes in. My 5 words in a hashtag are all that for graviton stabilizer. Hashtag the river will provide. And my pick is the Great Material Continuum and the Great River, because in that, I mean, yeah, it's like one of my favorite concepts in all of Star Trek. Nog explaining the Great River.
The Great River is so good.
The river will provide.
The river will provide.
Nog explaining the Great Material Continuum to O'Brien as like he continues to dig them deeper and deeper into a hole that O'Brien cannot see the end of. I think one of the lines that always makes me laugh, when Martok realizes that his blood wine is missing, Nog turns to O'Brien and goes, the river just got choppier, or the water's just got choppier. Right. Like, it's so great. You're just like, all of this for a graviton stabilizer. I don't know. I know it's not exactly a scene in water, but it's very much a scene about water. And I like to think that Nog and O'Brien are swimming in a very, very dangerous river in this whole episode. So it came to my mind like immediately, and I just couldn't shake it. I needed to bring it up. So my number one scene in water is not in water.
The best thing about this is knowing that I don't have to clip that great audio of Nog talking about the Great River, because I've played it on TrekRanks a couple times before, because it's such an iconic Star Trek moment.
You see, there are millions upon millions of worlds in the universe, each one filled with too much of one thing and not enough of another. And the great continuum flows through them all like a mighty river, from have to want and back again. And if we navigate the continuum with skill and grace, our ship will be filled with everything our hearts desire.
Right now, I'd settle for a stabilizer on the captain's desk.
The river will provide.
Huh? It doesn't sink us first.
The Great River. It's just such a smart pick. I love it. I mean, I don't know what else to say, but I mean, this one feels legit because it's a scene. It's not in water, but the water, the Great River. That's the whole point of that storyline, and the way things ebb and flow and connect, which defines Deep Space Nine as a series itself.
Right.
So.
There's so much metaphor to all of this too. It's not just like a cute little Ferengi parable. Like this is much more than that. Yeah, I thought of this and I was like, I kept having to talk myself into it.
I love it.
It's
I
so
love
good.
it. It's a great number one. Nathan, what's your take on treachery, faith, in the Great River?
Yeah, I love the fact that the closest thing we have to the Force in Star Trek is a Ferengi economic theory thing that moves through the whole universe and animates us and holds everything together. But it also is kind of rooted in that kind of the concept of Trek that, like, well, there are worlds that have plenty of stuff they don't need, and there are worlds that don't have certain things that they need, and throughout the entire universe, everything we need is here. Like, it's out there, and throughout this sense of trade and cooperation, that everybody can find what they need. And so even though it's coming from this it's very odd that coming from this very hyper-capitalist, cynical society is this concept of, oh, in the world is more than enough, and perhaps is that ideal of what trade could be.
Well, that's the best thing about the Ferengi in general in Deep Space Nine, is they somehow manage to be like the voice of reason sometimes in ways that they're absolutely not supposed to be. Like this is like the best caricature we could possibly have. But in this one case, they're totally onto something. I had like 3 different Ferengi related concepts for this episode that I couldn't imagine coming up with.
Well, it's a very wet planet, so
what do they say?
Concept would be a river.
178 words for rain in Ferengi, and not a single word for crisp.
And right now it's glebening outside.
You are right. It is glebening.
Okay.
That's from what? Let he who is that sin, right? I forgot where that
is. That I think you're right.
Oh God, something good. Something great came out of that episode, I guess.
I have seen drier days on Ferenginar. And we have 178 different words for rain. Right now, it's glemening out there. And that's bad.
Fantastic. All right. Let's go to your number one, Nathan. What do you got?
All right. This is 5 words. The one with the whales. Hashtag not that one. And it's Lower Decks first contact cetacean ops.
Oh, man. I had a feeling this might be a duplicate and that it also might be a triplicate. So I'm going to jump in right now because it's also my number one. So it was the first pick of the whole series. And then I was thinking to myself, this is going to be my number one pick. I wonder if Nathan will pick it in between. And you just did. So I'll just do my 5 words. Let's fire the phasers. I'll do my 5 words in a hashtag. And then let's hear your second take on it. Boimler dives into the unknown. Hashtag water on the ship. Let's hear it, Nathan. Why did you pick it?
Yeah, I mean, I felt like this was a scene that was most dominated by water, but also, like I said, we talked a lot about how you had both just the comedy and the drama of this, and even a really underrated part is the music of this. I mean, it was so evocative that when Boimler's suit filled up with water and he blacked out, the first time I watched it, I was certain he died. And I was not expecting that from the animated show. That was just how powerful the scene was, that like you weren't sitting there being like, oh no, they probably still have Jack Quaid on for another season. It was just, he blacked out, it's filled up with water, and that was just how much that scene just captured and absorbed me, from animation to drama, character, music. It is almost a perfect scene, and that's why it's number one.
Yeah, same for me. I don't know, we've kind of gone through it, but I mean, it's cetacean ops, people. This was a reference from the early days of TNG, and to finally see it on screen, and to see it portrayed in such a respectful but brilliant, but the right tone for the show, and just it just works at an A plus 10.0 level. I love it. Again, the most goofy, nonsensical thing in Star Trek history is probably that you have two communicative, sentient beluga whales who are both lieutenants, by the way, and which means they're probably graduates from Starfleet Academy on the ship helping to navigate in cetacean ops, and I am 100% here for it, as is all my cetacean ops gear that I bought from StarTrekShop.com, because I cannot get enough of it. I love it.
As you should.
Exactly. Mike McMahon wrote this finale for season 2 of Lower Decks, and it's a masterpiece, a goddamn masterpiece. Arielle, any final take, since it was your first pick and it was so long ago on First Contact?
All I have to say is I'm so glad it was picked again, because we need to talk about it more.
I am too. It's the most appropriate triplicate pick ever, because it's the scene in water. I mean, come on.
Yeah. I almost feel like I did something wrong by putting it so high up on my list.
No, I'm glad you did.
Just had to get it out.
Worked out
I feel
good.
like the order of this list ended up being like my least organized, like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, because I was. But this is so great.
Well, this is perfect. So we'll go through stats in a minute, but we have a lot of we had 2 duplicates and 1 triplicate. So let's do this now, because secondary systems, I got a long list. I'm going to rattle mine off quickly, but let's start with you, Arielle. What do you got on your list?
Let's see what you can do with the secondary system.
Sure. So I have Bashir almost skipping a rock on the Great Link.
Oh my God, brilliant. So good.
I know.
That's so good.
I know, right?
I didn't even think of the Great Link, but it's such a...
I kept thinking of the Great Link. I had so many like Odo in a bucket moments I almost considered, but I decided to leave it. But I really thought about it. The whole concept of fluidic space from Voyager.
Oh yeah.
Oh wow.
Smart. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
the 178 words for rain was on my secondary systems, but I got a chance to bring it up earlier. The scene with Neelix taking a bath in Caretaker, where he's absolutely
that was
shocked
my toughest cut.
I know, he's totally shocked by the amount of water. Fun fact, if you look at the article for just water on Memory Alpha, that is the only scene they even mention, is Neelix taking a bath. Yeah.
I forgot about that one. That's such a good one.
It's just so funny. And Phylaxians have weird feet, and we had to learn about it too many times in Voyager.
I'll say right now, I have another bathtub scene on my secondary system. It's Janeway
and Chakotay.
When Q shows up.
Oh, that's oh my God! Why did Voyager like bathtubs so much?
I know, and of course there was Chakotay building her bathtub. But
right, I had that one too. Yeah, the Xindi aquatic aliens. I thought they were the neatest thing ever.
Thank you.
We get so many aliens. That's like the whole point, right? But they just dramatically underrepresent aquatic aliens. We've got the fish head people in TNG, but like there got to be smart fish out there, right?
For sure.
Anyway,
there's two in cetacean ops. I would have picked the aquatics if I hadn't just talked about them for 30 minutes on the Xindi War moments in our last episode. Keep going.
Yeah, and I have one more. You mentioned that you wouldn't talk about ice or snow, but I really wanted to. So I have the whole episode where Quark and Odo are hiking up in the snow to the top of the mountain to try to communicate the ascent. Thank you. For some reason, the episode was escaping me. I love that episode. It has nothing to do with really water, but I just like excuses to talk about Deep Space Nine. And of course, Voyager and the Ice in Timeless, the opening scene where Chakotay and Harry are like trying to get through to see what happened to Voyager when they finally find it, and we just see it buried under the ice.
That's a good one. I did not consider ice or snow. I love it. Nathan, how about you?
All right. Really tough cut was Lower Decks Crisis Point Rise of Vindicta, the lake scene where Boimler falls into the lake and the Hydras.
Oh my God,
Hydra scoots.
That was gonna be my special shout out, because she talks about the Hydro Scoot so often.
The Hydro Scoot comes up so often. It's like, why do we have a special name for a when did we come up with a new name for these?
Oh my God, Captain Freeman is the queen of the Hydro Screw. That's the Hydro Scoot. That's Crisis Point 2 Paradoxes. That was going to be my special shout out. I love it. Great pick.
Then Prodigy Asylum, where the crew rescues the whale-like creatures on the planet. Star Trek Generations on the tall ship USS Enterprise.
Yep.
Star Trek 2009, Scotty and the Water Pipes.
Yep, I had that.
Prodigy Supernova Part 2, really quick, where the crew lands in San Francisco Bay. Just really kind of heartstrings there.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's right. When they get back. That's a good one.
Yeah, and the thing I loved about that, I didn't pick because it was really quick, but you just almost forget that they're children, and until they land right there in the bay.
Yeah,
and
that's a really good one.
You're surrounded by Star Trek Academy or Starfleet Academy, and you just realize how young they really are. And just a really beautiful scene, even if it was just 3 seconds. Star Trek Insurrection, Data's buoyancy in the lake,
flotation device, and Anish can't swim, which I love that little joke.
And then last two, did the search part 1 for DS9, which I think was the first look at the Great Link. I don't know if I got to see Bashir skip a rock. And then finally Prodigy's Ghost in the Machine, the holodeck scene on the pirate ship.
Oh yeah, the pirate ship is good. That's great.
So good. Well, I didn't even think about all of those Prodigy picks. That was really good.
Yeah, that's that last one, especially from Supernova. That's an awesome pick. I love it. Okay, so a lot of those are on my list. This is great. I had also Azadi Prime, which again we talked about last week in our Xindi War show, but similar to 30 Days, we see the Xindi shuttle going underwater. Really cool.
Have you done the Dominion War moments out of curiosity?
No, that's next. We're gonna do. We did Xindi War to start, and Dominion War is gonna come up in who knows, maybe another year or two. But we'll
so good.
That one's coming up too. I had Barge of the Dead.
Oh,
because of all the scenes with on the trip to Grethor. So I think you mentioned Generations, the sailing ship, and Worf, and that whole scene.
Yeah,
a classic. Yeah, I had Star Trek 2009 with Scotty. Can someone get me a towel? I love.
Oh, that's so good. I was thinking about it earlier, and I forgot to write it down. That's a great scene.
Absolutely great. So from Crisis Point, I was also going to call it. You had the hydroscoop, but you also had the Great Sulian Algae Crisis with an octopus telepathically.
I literally watched that scene this afternoon, and I was like, "Well, it's algae. It wasn't quite wet."
But they're at like a water
30 seconds just for this.
They're at like I have it in my notes. Starfleet Aquatic Research Center. But I love this because we don't know if that's true or not. But I love it. It's a little piece of Starfleet history, the Great Sulian Algae Crisis of 2341, but is it part of Boimler's Crisis Point 2 script, or did it actually happen? Well, I guess someday we'll find out, hopefully.
Either way, you gotta have chips.
Exactly.
Disco season 5 is just this.
Oh yeah, how amazing would that be?
That's our next callback.
That would be great. Okay, I just wanted to say the word moist vessel on this episode because that's appropriate. Here's the other ones for rain that I thought of. So we had Let He Who Is Without Sin that came up. There's a bunch of Ferenginar episodes with rain, like Ferengi love songs. The Visitor is a big rain episode where
great.
She shows up in the rain, and then Ex Post Facto when Tom Paris is making out with that guy's wife.
Oh my god!
In the rain, and then then I'll do my last shout out will be to Flotter. We have to give Flotter a shout out from Once Upon a Time.
Very nice.
He's literally, or they are literally water.
Oh.
Okay, great. All right, so I'm also gonna pose this question right now because I thought about this long and hard, and you actually mentioned one with your polymer pick for TOS, but I don't think there's one single scene in TOS where there's like rain or water on the set. So I'm asking people right now, if there is one, tweet me because I'm dying of curiosity because I really racked my brain for TOS and I could not, I'm not talking about the movies, of course, I'm talking about the original series. I don't think there's one moment where you really see even like a pool of water or a set. Anyway, just thought that was an interesting standout as I kind of went through this. But I'm sure I'll get like 15 tweets, people saying, "You idiot, you forgot about X."
Sounds about right for Trek Twitter, but it will be fun. We'll learn something.
Like, was it maybe there was a pool of water and who mourns for Adonai? No,
I was thinking about that. I don't know.
I can't remember. All right.
Yeah, or I was thinking of what was the episode with the Nazi planet? And I was just like, did they get sprayed down with a hose, or is this just like some other
they
World War
didn't.
II?
And they went into the
Okay.
sewer and there's no water, so
Yeah, I was like, no, I'm just thinking of every other World War II movie.
Right. All right, we'll see what happens there. Okay, incredible. I love a good scenes and Trek topic, but now it's time to get into our regeneration cycle. We're going to recap our picks and go through some stats.
Computer, activate regeneration cycle. Alcoves beta and gamma.
Okay, Arielle, run down your amazing list right now.
Sure. My first pick is Lower Deck Season 2, Episode 1, First Contact for Cetacean Ops. Then I have The Voyage Home, and we talked through a bunch of different possible scenes, but I'm talking about the aquarium scene. Then I have polywater intoxication from either Naked Time or Naked Now, which is a bit of a deep cut, but I love it. Forget Me Not, Disco Season 3, Episode 4 for the symbiont pools. And finally, The Great River, and the Great Material Continuum from Treachery, Faith, and the Great River, Deep Space Nine, Season 7, Episode 6. One of my all-time favorites.
Amazing list. Awesome. You got, just like you said, you had 5 different incarnations with Lower Decks, TOS, TNG, Discovery, and Deep Space Nine. Nathan, rattle off your 5.
All right, number 5 was the Rainy Planet scene on DS9, The Sound of Her Voice. Number 4 was the Water Planet in Voyager 30 Days. Number 3 was the crew and ship returning to its liquid form in Voyager Course Oblivion. The number 2 was the symbiote pools in Discovery Forget Me Not. And then the number 1 was the Cetacean Ops scene from Lower Decks Season 2, First Contact.
Okay, so you had 2 from Voyager, 1 from Deep Space Nine, 1 from Discovery and Lower Decks. All right, my recap was Deep Space Nine, The Sound of Her Voice, and that amazing rain at the end of the episode. The sewage escape route from the Xindi in Enterprise, my number 4 pick. Number 3 was Rocks and Shoals in the opening crash scene in the rock quarry, Deep Space Nine. Number 2, Star Trek Into Darkness and the amazing Enterprise coming up from the ocean in front of the Nibirians in the Kelvin timeline, and First Contact and Cetacean Ops with Lower Decks. So I had 2 from Deep Space Nine, 1 from Enterprise, 1 from the Kelvin timeline, and Lower Decks as well. Okay, so we got some stats here. For duplicates, we had 2 duplicates and then 1 triplicate across the board, which kind of makes sense because this is a real deep cut topic, but there's a lot of big ones too. Although we had that deep cut duplicate with Sound of Her Voice, so that was cool. Okay, so I tried to break it down by category here, and I think I did it for all 15 picks. So we had 7 picks that were in a pool or a kind of a set location on the ship. There were 2 that were a body of water, like a location shoot. There were 2 in the rain. There was, I'm calling the silver blood and the polymorph intoxication species/disease. So that's 2. There was 1 where there was the entire planet, which is 30 days. And we had 1 philosophical choice with the Great River. So pretty damn good breakdown there. I love it. Okay, so then our series breakdown, we had 2 films represented, which is always great. And then in the breakdown of the different iterations of Trek, we had 1 each from TOS, TNG, and Enterprise, as well as the Kelvin timeline. 2 from Voyager and Discovery. 3 from Lower Decks, because we all picked First Contact. And Deep Space Nine led the way with 4 overall picks. So 2 from The Sound of Her Voice, my Rocks and Shoals pick, and then Treachery, Faith, and the Great River, of course. Amazing. Incredible breakdown. I love it. What a fantastic topic. But right now we are going to initiate a temporal inversion because it's time to hear from you.
Initiate temporal inversion.
Initiating.
And for this week's temporal inversion, we are going back to another voicemail. And it's funny, we got a bunch of voicemails in the queue here. And I was actually looking to put one in. I was like, oh, I got one here from Nathan. Oh, no, I can't do that. He's on it. Oh, I got one here from Arielle. No, can't put her on either because you guys are both on the show. So you'll be hearing from Nathan and Arielle in the next couple of episodes. But so we are going all the way, jumping ahead to episode 156 in our top 5 Picard season 3 moments. We got a great voicemail in from our friend Melanie, who is on Instagram at ShuttlePod2. So here is her quick Picard season 3 breakdown using the TrekRanks matrix.
Hi, Jim. This is Melanie here from Instagram at shuttlepod.two. And I'm here with my top 5 Picard season 3. Number 5, production design. It has to be the recreation of the Enterprise D bridge. Wow, I can't imagine how much work went into that, and it was absolutely beautiful, heartwarming, and I loved it. Number 4, creative. Ed Spaliers. He was absolutely spectacular as Jack Crusher. What an intelligent, incredible, thoughtful actor. His performance blew me away. I love the character, and he did an amazing job. Number 3, Dabo round. I have to give a shout out to Vadic here. Amanda Plummer. Incredible villain from her very first Good Afternoon. Everything she did, chewing the scenery, was just fantastic, which leads me into a shout out for Lieutenant Tavine. Rest in peace. I loved Lieutenant Tavine, really wanted to see more of her. She was a great character, so I have to mention her. Number 2, character. I've already picked Jack Crusher in a sense, so I won't pick him again, but he was my favorite. You know who really stood out to me this season was 7 of 9. I loved her character development this season. Every scene she was in was great. All of her dialogue, her growth, her strength, the Voyager callbacks, all of it. Big 7 of 9 fan and really enjoyed her this season. And number 1, my favorite episode. I'm with Carlos Miranda here. It's Imposters. Wow. What an incredible episode on so many levels. Definitely my favorite of the season. And you know what? It's also my favorite of the whole series, with I think Penance being number 2. Imposters is my favorite Picard episode. Brilliantly done. And overall, just what a season. Here's some more TrekRanks. Take care, everyone, and live long and prosper.
All right, great list from Melanie. I love that shout out of 7 of 9 as her character. And then she picked Imposters as her favorite overall Picard episode, which great stuff. Amazing episode. All right, once again, those picks more than enough to clear ourselves from this week's temporal inversion. So as always, I want to thank everyone for all your great responses to the TrekRanks podcast. Keep your list coming to me at TrekRanks on Twitter so we can retweet them. But we also want to hear from you. So put together your own list of top 5 scenes in water or a list from any of our past shows. Give us a call at the Tricorder Transmissions at 609-512-5527, or you can just record it and send me a DM. We can connect that way as well. So hopefully we'll hear from you so you can be featured on the next episode of TrekRanks. And on the next episode of TrekRanks, we are doing, it's a pretty big one. It's another ongoing TrekRanks series. This one is our Species series, and it is the 6th time we're focusing in on a specific series or specific species, and it doesn't get any bigger than this species in Trek. Next week, we're doing the top 5 Vulcan episodes, and we are timing this one with the launch of Strange New Worlds Season 2, which I think is pretty appropriate for this series. So Arielle and Nathan, if you had to choose one Vulcan episode off the top of your head that you would like to represent your list, what would it be? It's definitely, there's a lot to choose from. So this topic's kind of top heavy, but we'll see. There's also some deep cuts here on this topic. So Arielle, what do you got for one Vulcan episode?
Oh my God, I'm like overwhelmed by this topic. You know, I'm sure this will change if you gave me enough time to think about it. So I don't want to like be too attached to this answer, but I think the first thing that came to my mind might have been Sarek from TNG.
It's like a really,
I know it's an oddly specific pick, but it's the first thing that came to my head. Like, I don't know, I don't want to pick like Amok Time or something that's like, you know, such an an over that's probably like the Vulcan episode they could have thought of. And then I thought of the Vulcan trilogy from Enterprise because I'm literally, you're here, so that pops into my head immediately. I don't know, I would have to think about this topic. It's a little overwhelming.
No, Sarek's good though because you get a lot of background on Vulcans in that one.
Actually, could I? Well,
so you're switching. What are you switching?
on immediate reconsideration, my favorite Vulcan in Star Trek is Tuvok.
Oh, there you go.
Has always been. So I think I might actually go with Meld.
Oh, that's a good one too.
Yeah,
there's
that's so good. No, I think I'm gonna go with Meld from Voyager. Can I just go back a second and re-answer that question?
No, you just did both. We're putting both in there. What are we gonna?
Okay,
who cares?
No
Fantastic.
Yeah, more Trek.
You rule. All right, Nathan. How about you? What's your Vulcan episode?
Yeah, I almost went for a big one. But there was this one scene that crossed my mind, and it's from Voyager Prime Factors, where Janeway is dressing down Tuvok for going against her orders, and he says that he followed the logical course. She says that's the thing about you Vulcans, is that you can you can use your logic to fit whatever it is that you need it to. And I just thought Janeway just really called out the Vulcans really well in that one moment, and I thought that captured a lot of our experiences with the Vulcans over the last 56 years.
Oh, that's brilliant.
That's another good deep cut pick. This is great. I'm glad you guys are giving me good different ways to think about this topic, because it is kind of be tough to me to not be like Vulcan trilogy, Amok Time.
Yeah, I was trying to stay away from the giant ones, but I guess I stand by saying Sarek, because you get to see some of what makes Vulcans Vulcan reflected on Picard, which is cool.
Okay, well, we're gonna save some of that for that episode. So, all right.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, shut up.
I'm excited.
Right. I love it.
Channel closed. Reset. Subspace communications. Scrambler code Riker 1.
Scrambler code Riker 1 acknowledged. All right, we're gonna close this episode out with a huge thanks to Arielle K and Nathan Royster. It was awesome having you guys on the show. Any final Trek Scrambler codes either one of you guys want to relay before we depart? Arielle.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on again. Always a pleasure. And I guess stay dry.
Good advice. Nathan, I'm glad we were finally able to get you on, man.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. And I'll just say, stay thirsty.
I would love to, but there's no time. There's a busted hull panel we need to release.
That works too. Keep up, Matt and Kimalu. Keep up. All right. Thanks everyone for engaging with us here on episode 158 of the TrekRanks podcast. As always, I want to close by saying I'm looking forward to standing with you again here in this place where I belong.
Okay, so you just got to go all the way down and then swim the length of the hydro tube and then wedge into the filter nodule to reach the clamps. Cool?
Oh, wow, that's a really long tunnel. I'm not sure if I can...
You're the one who wants to dive into the unknown. Now's your chance. So, get diving.
Just want to remind everyone again that the entire TrekRanks catalog is available for you to download and listen to at TrekRanks.com and on your podcast player of choice. Our episodes never get carbon dated, so check out the topics you've missed and maybe just want to listen to again over at TrekRanks.com. And a reminder to check out our friends 5-Year Mission at 5yearmission.net. They're writing a song for every episode of Star Trek, and you won't believe how great their music is. They also have a podcast at the Trek Geeks Network, so seek them out. You won't regret it.
So, you guys doing anything for Captain Freeman Day?